Hello, everyone, and welcome to another book review in Alex's reading room. Today, we will be reviewing The City of Ember by Jean Dupro. I wanted to use this version of the book. I actually have a box set of all 4 books of the City of Ember series, and but I wanted to use this one because it's from the movie from 2008, and this is the one that I read last year. I enjoyed this book. It took me forever to read it because I got it back in 2008 thinking, oh, I'll definitely read this because the movie was good. And then I didn't read it. And so it took me, 15 years, that is? But I finally read it. And as you can see, the book is a little worse for wear, but it's readable, at least. So let's start off with the basics. Let me start off with, okay, let me find it in my spreadsheet here. So it is 270 pages, and yes, that is this copy of the book. It is, yeah, that's this copy of the book, 270 pages. I don't know what the other one is, because it's a different printing. I feel like this book is shorter than a normal book, so it's possible that it will vary, but I don't know. They could have changed the font size or something in order to make it the same. Anyhow, let's get into the age rating. For the sexuality of this book, it is at 0. Sexuality, language, substance, and death and sexuality, language, and substance are all at 0. 0 out of 3. Death and injury is at a 1. And all I'm going to say is that there is a death, but it's old age, and it's almost like it's implied. Like, it's the death of old age. It's very, very light concept of death. Overall, it gets an age rating of 9. But there's a strong argument to be made for 6. I think this book is actually appropriate for younger readers. It is not advanced. It gets a 0 out of 1 on the advanced thing, and it is definitely written for younger readers. Sometimes on these things, this one says 8 to 12 on the back. You know, some of these publishers actually have an age rating for these books, and I actually agree with this one. For Shine and Bright, I didn't agree with it. I thought it was too young, but for this, I think it's appropriate. Overall, I would rate this book an 8 out of 10. I actually enjoyed this book, and that's coming from an adult reading a preteen book. It's not exactly a children's book, but it's definitely not like an adult's book. So I myself enjoyed it. If I were in the age group that it was intended for, I might enjoy it more, but I definitely enjoyed it. And this is coming from me who's watched the movie a few times, actually, and perhaps that has a positive effect on the way that I perceive the book. I feel that the characters were actually more fleshed out than the movie. They were slightly different than they were in the movie, and the situation around the story was actually different. I mean, that's to be expected when you have a book adapted into a movie. But there were definitely some changes to the movie, and I think that the book is ultimately better than the movie. The movie actually was fairly faithful to the book, although there were some parts of the movie that I preferred to the book, which I guess I will go over now in the spoilers section. So, spoilers. So I feel as though in the movie, something they got very right was the builders. So the builders built this City of Ember, and in the movie, I think they got very right the feeling, the epic feeling of, like, you know, we're starting this grand new project, and they have this saying, for the good of all mankind. This is spoilers for the movie. I don't think that appears in the book. There is a scene in the beginning there is a scene in the beginning, but it is very much written for a young audience, and the movie. I actually have the City of Ember poster on my wall. You can't see it on the camera, but it's like beside my flag here. Because it's one of my favorite movies, to be honest. And, you know, in the movie they say, for the good of all mankind. They have this banner that says, for the good of all mankind. There's something terrible happening on the surface world, and we have to build this underground city, and it's supposed to last 250 years. And then the box with instructions on how to leave the city is going to open. And, you know, over time, you know, eventually there's one mayor that falls ill or something like that. And there's some details I forgot because I read this last year. But definitely it's such a good book. I mean, it deals like with this situation that's super high stakes. And there's some very, very light political messaging in it, but it's so light that like it's like I kind of agree with the saying that's like, for every gallon of good story you can give me like a teaspoon of propaganda. Like I don't view this book in any way as propagandistic. But there's some light political messaging. Which is totally fine, to be honest. It's just a really good book. And it's just this very high stakes environment where they have to figure out how to escape the city because everything is failing around them and they have no idea what they're supposed to do about it. And they have to put together these instructions and they have to figure out what things mean, and they don't know what certain words mean because they're just like not relevant anymore. But now, in the movie, it ends with just Dune, Lena, and Poppy, the baby, just those three escaping. But in the book, actually, it ends basically the same way. Because in the movie, they write a message and then they tie it to a rock, and then they just drop it down a hole all the way down into Ember. And the book ends in the same way. And then the second book actually picks up a little bit after that. The second book is called The People of Sparks, and I'll make a separate review for that on another day. But I don't know. It just captures very well. It captures very well the environment of just high stakes. We have to escape the city, or else everyone's gonna die because like the generator's failing. And the pipe works are like for the water supply is like not in good condition at all, and it's just crazy. So because this city has been around for like 50 years longer than it's supposed to be, so I highly recommend this book, and I definitely think it's very suitable for younger audiences. It's exciting. It's very easy to understand. It's a very easy read. This is probably... Now, I haven't read the prequel book. It's called The Prophet of Yonwood, and that's the fourth book in the series. It's a prequel. It's set, like, way before the first book. Way, hundreds of years. But out of the three that I have read, The City of Ember, the first book, is the only book that I would actually recommend to adult audiences as well as younger audiences, because I feel like this one is very... exciting, and even though you can get past the writing style being for younger audiences because the story is so intriguing. The other books I can't say the same. So I try to be objective with the other books, and I tried to say, okay, let me like rate this, as if I'm a younger audience, as if I'm a younger individual reading this. But it's difficult. And as the City of Ember, I could just review this as a 29-year-old guy, okay? And I'm just reading this objectively, and I very much enjoyed it. So that's going to conclude this review. I hope you enjoyed, and if you enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, stay tuned for more book reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.